Hello, YouTube. One thing I haven't done yet is a dedicated Dual Ichor Vortex video. So I showcase a lot of memes and pretty ridiculous stuff with Dual Ichor, and those are all on Excalibur. But I will make this very clear: Dual Ichor Vortex is not exclusive to Excalibur. It's not even exclusive to any particular Warframe. It's just really is the best melee weapon on Excalibur, and one main reason for that is because of the way that the clouds scale with Furious Javelin. So to get right into it, I will show, starting from the top, the Incarnon evolution. So if you're unaware, when you proc the Incarnon evolution, kills create a little toxin field, and that toxin field is counted as melee damage. Now, before you think about it, because this is already fixed, Influence doesn't proc this anymore. I actually did look up when they did make this change, because I used it heavily before they made this change. From the release of Melee Influence up until they patched this, I used this heavily. Melee Influence used to trigger off of the toxin fields, and they changed that back in February of 2024. So how long have I been running a Vortex build? Since February of 2024, because I got a really good Riven for it, and a really good Riven used to be required to send this build to the level that it needed. But thankfully, because of 1999, that is no longer the case. So these toxin fields are really the big feature of that. I don't think it's that great of an influence host. I think there's a far better set of melee weapons that are better influence hosts than this. And it has to do with because of the other really big feature on Dual Ichors, which is that toxin damage generates combo, and this also procs off the fields. So here's the problem. If you're running something like Influence, you can't run Toxin unless you're Saren. And that's the exception of this that I won't really cover in detail. Plenty of people can cover Saren with Dual Ichors in detail. We're talking about everyone other than Saren. So the nature of this is that you can get really good combo sustained in combat just from this. Like, you hit an enemy once, and if you've got the Incarnon evolution up, and there's more than one enemy within that vicinity, you probably have instant combo. Or you could, if you've got enemies being hit across the map, those are generating combo if you happen to heavy attack. So really good evolution. The other one, I would say it's almost worthless. Same with this one. Combo duration for free is really good on any melee weapon. Even 5 seconds is really good. 7 seconds, decent, not the greatest, but in combination with this, it's a huge quality of life upgrade. So the other options, I wouldn't even bother, even if you're using now dual dexterity arcanes on your heavy weapons. This is still the best out of all of them, in my opinion. And then this is the default choice. There's no other option than this. This is so ridiculous. This is what allows the build to work, because if you're not getting that toxin damage and you're not getting those magnetic procs, you're not going to be able to make the build work. And to get into the build, I will showcase what the better by about 8% when I measured it build is, which is this ridiculousness of a Riven. You don't need this anymore. This was, I wouldn't say required before 1999, but something along these lines was almost necessary to really send this build to the moon. The other option that if you wanted to get something close to this, if you don't get one with plus toxin, and you only get cold and electricity, you do actually run into an issue where you're more likely to proc magnetic than toxin. I think I can demonstrate this real fast. So if I remove this, notice how the magnetic damage is higher than toxin, and value-wise, this doesn't get that far off. So the math, you really don't want to get this unless you have all three of these stats and in the right order. That's where it makes it very difficult to recommend at all. And thankfully, it's not necessary since 1999 release, because you have Magnetic Rush, and that's what this is the no Riven version. This is entirely viable. This is really good. If you do want a Riven, though, the two things that you're really able to replace, and this is going to be the primary one, is Prime Pressure Point, because melee damage scales really well on Rivens. You're going to be getting like 200 on a +3/-1. If you have a +2 or even a +2/-1, you're going to be beating that by quite a lot. And before you ask, Condition Overload does not work on the clouds. It works on the regular attacks, but that is not worth it. I generally don't like Condition Overload because it doesn't work on Slash Dash either right now. It was one of the few, I think the only former Pseudo Exalted that didn't get that feature, because Slash Dash works differently. which is another advantage to this build on Excalibur that I'll go into in the gameplay section. The other one would be replacing this. If you do get a plus toxin, then you could replace that. The only thing is that you're probably going to lose some toxin damage, but that will help bias this a little bit better towards magnetic, because a Riven like this, it is noticeable. Like if you drop this puppy in there, this difference between the toxin and magnetic is noticeable with how little the status weighing is, even in full ramp. It is not worth it. So this used to be really good back in the day when it was a stat stick. When I was using it for slash dash, this is pretty much best in slot for that. That is not the case anymore. So here you go. This is this is the best from what I've been able to measure and the amount of Kuva I've spent rolling these Rivens and testing them, including trying to add blast to it in various ways. So what I will do though is a whole compromise here, and I'll show you the build on Excalibur, and I'll briefly mention some of the ways to buff it just before I forget. Furious Javelin's probably the best way to buff it overall because of the way that this directly impacts the toxin fields. Roar is another one. Nourish, Eclipse. Nourish feels the best, but Roar buffs it kind of about the same. Either one of those is really good. So Eclipse doesn't seem to buff the status weight, but the initial hit, it does. It's a little weird. I wouldn't recommend it if you had to choose like another Warframe and you wanted to run either Roar or Nourish. Those are the two options that I would recommend. So as a compromise, what I will do though is I will hop on this guy because I am used to Vazarin. I'm kind of a slave to Vazarin. I haven't gotten used to running Naru once again. It's been a few years. So I'm going to do that, but I'm going to run the no Riven version so that you can see how this performs. No Riven, basically the same exact build that I'm running on Umbra. So the other way that you can help this, if you don't happen to have really good weighing on magnetic, is this really fun combo of Bell Ringer and Magnetic Strike. This works exactly how it sounds. If your companion can knock down a target, it puts impact. When it puts impact, it puts magnetic. It synergizes really well. And with Contagious Bond, you'll notice sometimes that it does spread that impact. And the magnetic and the slash and the other things that it's applying with Momentous Bond, and your companion nukes the map. Because this is still my Thrax Ghost Killer build. I don't have Roar or Warcry, and it's still really good, even at killing Thrax Ghosts. So, we will get into gameplay, and I'm going to show the meme value of this and how I do it, because I've shown that without commentary a few times now. So I'll discuss that.
Your weapons make music, and the enemy calls for a song.
Make my little Mushroom Kingdom. Yes, I run the inferior version of Excalibur for this build, because I'm basically a slave to Vazarin. Don't be a slave to Vazarin, and it's not a problem. So, the trick here is we've got to at least get our combo up. And then, yeah, you can see that's not me. That's my companion doing that. So we'll let our companion, we'll let that subside. But notice this. So these are pulling enemies into the clouds. And it's noticeably different when you lose. Here, I'll get my impetus stacks up too. When you lose your Furious Javelin stacks. And the same goes for Roar. If Roar drops off, like let's say you're hanging back, if you've seen some of my videos, you'll notice when Roar drops off because the damage numbers will be visibly less and not self-sustaining anymore. So like right there, I hit that guy once and was able to generate toxin fields that are starting to self-sustain.
Life support on the way.
So here's gonna be a fun one. Hit that enemy, clouds drop, get some stacks. And you can see just from my companion even doing it, like giving it some extra push, it's starting to spread.
delivered a life support capsule to the area.
If you want to run this exact build on Umbra, you lose out on the ability to spawn extra mushrooms, but you just run Warrior's Rest, and then you can run thousands of fun. Like right here. And notice how it creeps. And it's still creeping. And it keeps creeping. So what I should probably do, we'll actually do that right now, is I'm going to remove my companion so that I can better show you this without diluting the kills with that. Companion's doing too good. This also is a problem that I've noticed with when you have... wow. This is going to show my Excalibur one-trick poniness. Whichever it is, Mag or Nova, that explodes enemies, that prevents you from spawning toxin clouds. So if you're in a mission with one of those, whichever one it is, then that will prevent that from working. So just FYI there.
These are worthy foes. Underestimate them.
We'll
at your peril.
do a little bouncy action, get our energy up for the mission.
Life support has been cut off. They're trying to choke you out. Hold on. I'm sending auxiliary life support.
Yes, you notice how I almost instantly went up to max combo. So we'll let that just fester a little bit, and we'll see how far it goes. We'll come back to that. The only downside to this is with Furious Javelin, you need to be able to see enemies and maintain those stacks, where if it's killing enemies from across the map, you are no longer seeing those enemies to be able to hit them with Furious Javelin. So let that go do its thing. And remember, this is the non-Riven variant. This isn't like the difference between two of my Rivens at 8%. This is with no Riven.
Life support incoming.
And you can see it killing across the map. No Riven, no Roar. Just Furious Javelin.
I've delivered a life support capsule to the area. Activating it will buy him more time.
In scenarios when it crits, why it crits, I actually don't know, because it's supposed to have 0% crit. If someone does know, please let me know in the comments. It's a lot easier to see without my pet diluting things. Especially that pet build. That pet build kind of makes it a little difficult. It's way too good of a pet build. Yes, you notice how it's not really a limitation of the clouds themselves, it's a limitation of the enemies spawning. So this is where it scales so extremely well with mob density, this effect. Because as long as it has enemies to hit and you have your buffs up, it will keep killing enemies. So what I'll do here is show you just a heavy attack and watch my combo. I can sit here and heavy attack, and as long as those clouds are still hitting targets, they will keep generating combo for you. So it's a very friendly build when you're not running something like Mirrorman. The downside too is as soon as your evolution expires, you no longer get those toxin fields, so that can be a limitation as well. pretty much no matter what, there's a hard cap on how long this can be self-sustaining. It's 180 seconds because it's how long the Incarnon lasts. As soon as the Incarnon lasts, or as soon as the Incarnon expires, all of those shields despawn. So, it's not a full AFK simulator. It'll at least keep you engaged once every 3 minutes. I was probably going to show that. I'll show that with a... I'll show you my Riven variant. I'll show you how ridiculous this gets, even without a companion. So I'm not going particularly sweaty here. I can go far sweatier than this, and we're almost at... You know, we're going to probably hit 700 or maybe even 800 kills. Oh, we'll push it a little bit here.
Discovery. Keep up the good work.
I'll pick up some of this loot since it went back in. Now this question might come up. Is this as strong as pre-nerf clouds with influence? Yeah, not at all. But does it come close sometimes? Yes. Sometimes it genuinely comes close. And it's very situational. It has to do with spawn, enemy spawn, sustainability of those spawns. It's entirely dependent on that. It's not like it back when influence could proc the clouds, or the clouds could proc influence. That was ridiculous, and I'm glad they removed that because that was game breaking. Even without Furious Javelin, that was doing far more than this against non-armor stripped pre-Jade Shadows enemies. So what I'll do in the spirit of completeness, I'll show you what it's like with a Riven. Still no companion. No Riven. Riven. Same mission. Maybe we'll get the same tile set. This mission's so variable.
These foes deserve your respect. Honor them with quick deaths, and I with your victory.
Fun fact here, you can, as long as you stop your slam mid-animation, you can do that. You can get your energy up real quick. Alright, enough enemies? Sure. See, I probably shouldn't have killed those enemies because I'm gonna run out of... Oh, there we go. There's more. Keep the train going. I'm gonna use these guys. We're gonna use them to keep our impetus or our Furious Javelin stacks up. See how long we can keep this going. So those are still doing damage across the map. Looks like it finally lost its self-sustainingness.
Life support on the way.
This is actually a little dirty. We're gonna keep these guys around here for the sole purpose to keep my my stacks up. We're gonna see how long we can keep that going.
delivered a life support capsule to the
All right,
area.
I'm sick of these guys.
Activating it will buy you more time.
Yeah, why they crit? I honestly don't know. Maybe at some point I'll figure out a way to control for that. They don't benefit from like Cat's Eye or Arcane Avenger or anything like that. So that's some things that I know for certain. And they don't seem to crit in Simulacrum reliably.
Get ready for a capsule.
Oh. We'll steal a little bit of stacks there. And like I mentioned already, the limitation for how long they'll be self-sustaining is at least going to be the limit of the Incarnon duration. So whatever your Incarnon form duration is, as soon as you lose that Incarnon form, all of the clouds despawn.
Delivered another life support capsule.
Whoops. There we go. Okay, so we're going to hit this enemy right here. And you're going to see how very quickly, that was almost 1 million that was hit by a cloud. And see? Now we lost our cloud, and I wasn't paying attention. Skill issue right there. I guess to be more clear, you probably noticed the clouds didn't despawn, but they no longer were self-sustaining. And I don't believe they'll be self-sustaining, the ones that are spawned when it loses Incarnon form. Like, it won't be self-sustaining. If you activate it again, any of those clouds that exist won't... You can't just, like, presume their self-sustaining nature. See, that was a great example right there. There was clouds. I gave them a really good amount of amp, and I was able to have them keep rocking. I'm gonna put like one enemy here. Let them all group up. This will be a fun feature that I actually want to show this time. So we've got this nice self-sustaining set of clouds, and we have an Acolyte spawning. What am I going to show here? I wonder what it could be. Oh, he decast it. That's rude. One Acolyte. There it is. I killed the Acolyte with the clouds. Didn't touch him. So there's a few scenarios where I'll be on a mission and then the Acolyte will just instantly die because of the fact that he happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time.
The raid is off to a successful start.
So 800 kills, wasn't really even doing that much. No companions, so it's not like I have a Verglass just going to town. If you wonder why I don't run attack speed, it's because I've gotten very used to this right here. I wouldn't say it's a skill issue, it's just a preference. So I actually like my Riven far better than the magnetic mod because I have a tendency to want lower attack speed than higher since I use stance combos as a form of mobility. So that's a... Do what it is that you prefer. So I'm not saying anything that I'm doing is particularly right. But I will say definitively that Vortex on Dual Ichors is the best form for it, unless you're on like a Saren, and then you get the ability to maintain its own features. Vortex, obviously you don't need to have Magnetic on it, but you don't get that feature that I just showed without it. So yeah. If there's any questions about this, if you even want to drop in, hey, what about this Riven or this build? I would say if you don't... No matter what Riven that you get, you're only replacing one of these two. The rest of them just aren't worth it. Maybe except for if you get like a cold toxin mod, like cold toxin Riven. So something along these lines. The order matters in this scenario. So, yeah, thanks for watching.